Hey everyone, welcome back to the Book Cave with me, Jenny. Today I'm going to be starting For the Wolf, which is the first book in the Wilderwold Trilogy, and I figured I'd do a little kind of in-depth reading vlog on it for you all. So yeah, I'm gonna get started with that and report back. So I'm about 60 pages in, and we've met Red, who is the second daughter. The second daughter is meant for the wolf. And then we have her twin sister Neve, who is the first daughter, who is meant for the throne. And you can see For the Throne sitting there behind me on my cart. And obviously that will be book 2. But so far, we've gotten very little world building. We basically have the myth of what happened and why Red has to be sacrificed. And then we do meet the wolf. And yeah, I was of the impression that this would be a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, what with her name being Red and the cover having, a girl with a red cloak and the title. But so far, when we meet the wolf, this has been more of a Beauty and the Beast sort of thing. She finds his castle and goes in and is now kind of stuck there. I will say I'm definitely interested to learn more about the magic and more about the Wilderwood itself with what has happened so far. I'm also really enjoying Neve and Red's relationship. Like, you can definitely tell from the few interactions that they had before Red had to leave, was sent off, that they deeply care about each other, and I really like seeing that in books. So yeah, I'm getting ready to head to work, but this is my break time book, so it'll definitely be going with me, and I will be reading some more and I will report back. So I've read a little further in the book, and I'm definitely enjoying now that we're truly in the Wilderwood, and it's definitely very atmospheric, creepy forest vibes. And the interludes at Valdelia, I feel like add a lot to like the characterization of Red in a way, even though obviously Red isn't there, but it shows the people who care about her and how she cares about them. You get to see in her, so it's interesting to see those bonds. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is the weird love quadrangle thing going on. So we have Neve and Red, who are obviously the first and second daughters. Then you have Arik, who is betrothed to Neve, but in love with Red. Then Red doesn't love him, or at least she tried not to, because of the fact she was going to be sacrificed. She didn't want to hurt anybody when she was. And then you have Rafe, who is the one that Neve actually cares for and actually cares for her. And I do like the fact that, Neve and Red never really get jealous of each other over Arik. Arik and Rafe never really get jealous of each other over Neve. And I feel like the relationships do work very well, but I feel like it's just so tangled that it didn't have to be that complicated. And we're definitely learning more about the Wilderwood now, and about, the thirst for blood that it has, and the saplings and all of that. I would like to know more about, what exactly is going on, but I'm only about 127 pages in, so there's still plenty of time for more build up more world building, and I'll definitely be interested to see where exactly we go with all of this. So we're starting to get a lot more threads of the story coming together. I've now learned a little bit of Fife's background, and we now know why it is Fife and Lyra, who are in the Wilderwood, that they actually bargained for lives. And I am enjoying seeing Red come to care about Aemon and him coming to care about her. And I do feel like the priestess that Nev has met in her last interlude is perhaps not on the good side, but we will find out, and it'll definitely be interesting to see where those plot threads go as well. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this. It is a semi quick read. There are times that for some reason I am kind of slogging through a page here and there, but then I feel like I get through that and it picks up a lot again. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this is going. So I've gotten a good bit further now, and I'm on page 300 out of 430, and I'm really enjoying seeing Nev's little interludes, because we're getting so much political intrigue there, and I have like so many questions, and one of them has been answered, because I left a little note for myself after Queen Isla had died. I was like, did Kiri have something to do with that? And of course we find out in the last interlude that I read that yes, she did. And so we see Nev getting sucked more and more into Kiri's plans. We see her getting her own magic. And my thing is okay, Kiri's trying to weaken the Wilderwood so the kings can come back. Now, we already know that the kings aren't necessarily good. Does Kiri know this? Or does she believe the kings are good and is trying to do something good? I really, really, really want to know this. And just the build-up in all of this is really well done. And then when we have Red and Aemon, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but they have basically a marriage of convenience. And I do like the way that they're slowly starting to warm up to each other, and the way that we realize they really do care for each other, but Aemon just can't because of the Wilderwood. If he lets his guard down, it's going to attack Red. I do feel like, in a way, this has been a little bit overplayed, or it's a little bit forced. However, the scenes where the Wilderwood does attack, it's very obvious that it is dangerous, so it's definitely not as forced of a conflict as it could have been. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to finish this and see what cliffhangers are going to be left for Nev's story in book 2. So I'm done book 1, and it was definitely an interesting book. I did enjoy all the dark foresty fairy tale vibes, but there were a few things that bothered me. Like, we have the whole thing with Kiri just kind of going completely off the rails, and just kind of out of nowhere. We do see hints of it, but the hints we saw before, I felt like there was a method, and it wasn't just her being insane trying to take power. And then at the end, that's just kind of what it boiled down to. I would have liked to see more of her kind of falling into this religious fervor power trip that she has going on. And then another thing that really, really bugged me with her was the whole thing with the kings. Did she know they had turned bad? Or was she just assuming they were good because that's what she'd been told? It's not made clear at all. I don't feel like it was even really hinted at. And then the whole thing with the second daughters must be sent or the monsters will come. It's been 100 years and the monsters didn't show up. So where exactly was the reasoning that it had to keep going? And I feel like it would have been fought against, should have been fought against. And I will say the last probably 50 to 100 pages, there was a whole lot of action there, a whole lot of build-up. I do feel like a lot of this book was build-up for the throne. But overall, as I said, it was definitely enjoyable. And I am going to be starting For the Throne very shortly. So I just started For the Throne, and it's actually pretty interesting to start with. So we start out, we have Nev's point of view, and through her, we see the Shadowlands, the twisted upside down forest that we had hints of in the first book, and we kind of get to see some more of Solmir's dark side, and we learn, well, I shouldn't say we learn, but we see again he wants to kill the kings for whatever reason. But when he said that, I'm like, isn't he one of the kings, I thought? So we'll see where that kind of goes. And then I do like, we get 3 points of view. We have Nev's point of view in the Shadowlands, Red's point of view in the Wilderwood, and then we have Rafe's point of view, and he's kind of traveling all over trying to find something to save Nev. And yeah, it's definitely interesting so far, and it doesn't really have any fairy tale vibes yet, so I'm definitely going to be interested to see if this one does give me some fairy tale vibes where I can say that, oh, okay, this is what it's a retelling of. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to get further into this book. So I'm at chapter 7 now, and I'm definitely finding Nev's part the most interesting. And, I mean, obviously, I feel like that's kind of what's supposed to be, because the book is obviously supposed to be about her, you know, for the throne. And then we have Rafe's part, which I'm finding at least somewhat interesting. His is more interesting from political, and now that we've met Caillou, who may or may not have some political schemes, things seem that they will definitely be getting more interesting. And then Red's point of view so far has been the least interesting. There's not much action, it's just kind of her living her life, which there's nothing wrong with that, but compared to definitely Nev's point of view, there's not near as much going on, and I'm sure it will connect in what has to, everything considered. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this, and I'm hoping I can get through it relatively quickly. Chapter 7 is page like 80, so I am down to less than 400 pages to go at least. It's like 437 pages, I believe. So yeah, I will definitely be reading some more tonight, and possibly reporting back more in a little bit. We'll see what happens. So, I got through another chapter, and now this chapter was Red's, and now hers is getting more interesting. She's actually finding some clues on how to save Nev, and I do know that in both of their chapters they had a dream and a voice that spoke to them that they recognized but couldn't place. And that's irritating me a little bit because I'm like, I wish we as the readers had an idea, even if just a very, very vague one. And at first I thought maybe it was the kings, but then the voice actually seems to want to help and not be like one of the kings trying to get free, and yeah. So that part is irking me a little bit, but I'm hopeful that as we read through more chapters that it'll become a little clearer, or we'll at least get a more solid hint. But so far, I feel like this book is definitely faster paced than For the Wolf, and it seems like there's honestly much higher stakes. So I definitely still have very high hopes for this one. So I've made it to about page 300 now. So I have about 140 pages or so. And honestly, I'm still really liking Nev's parts better. I feel like they have more plot. And although Red's parts did have some plot, I felt like they were a lot less. And I'm starting to feel like Nev's is just kind of running around here and there. And yeah, it just feels a little bit aimless, a little bit not, but it feels more kind of like killing time at this point, that like it's just been a little much. And I also feel like Red and Nev have kind of traded personalities here. Because obviously in the first book, Nev is like, I have to get Red back, I have to get Red back. And now Red is like, I have to get Nev back, I have to get Nev back. And then Nev now is like, I have to stay away to protect Red, and Red, I have to stay away to protect Nev. So, I mean, it's interesting, and it does fit with like the duality that is kind of being discussed here. And then we got a really good quote from Eamon. And he says, very rarely can I cannot read my own writing, this is bad. Very rarely can the entirety of fault be held by one person. There we go, Ned, I was able to make that out. And I just feel like that's, again, a very true quote. That there's always things that, even though, yes, this person did this, but now this person reacted in that way. Or, I reacted in that way. Or this person only did that because some other person did this thing. And it's very easy to get tangled up in that. And I feel like that's kind of what he's trying to say there. So I'm definitely hoping to finish this soon, because I only have about 120 pages left. And it is still pretty good, despite the issues that I have told you about. So I've read several more chapters in For the Throne now, and I have about 100 pages left. But we have some developments. I'm not really that much of a fan of Rafe and Caillou ending up together, just because of the fact that I don't really feel anything between them. And you see my puppy in the background. Why do you keep trying to eat my cords, puppy? Come here. And he keeps moving everything around. Come here. Sit down. You're going to pull me over. Come here. Come here. Thank you. Stop, you're moving the camera. So as I was saying, I don't feel like there's much development of their relationships. And I'm not going to say it necessarily feels forced, but it feels like something that might not last. But then we do have a few good quotes. So in the Shadowlands, we have Nev having a conversation, and somebody says about Selmir. He says, he would make himself a monster for you, Nevra, but do you want that? And then this same character tells Nev that you swallow the apocalypse and use the power of it to reshape the world. Isn't that all you ever wanted to do, Nev? Make the world what you thought it should be. And I feel like that fits a lot with what we'd seen of her in the first book as well. You know, she wanted to change the world so that she could protect Red. And now she wants to change the world and try to protect everybody. And I think it does a good job at hinting of the darkness that can show as well. And then we have Red speaking, and she says about Nev that she went into the underworld for me. I had to prove I was willing to do the same for her. That's how it works, I think. The same kinds of love, whether they're pretty or not. I do feel like this book, although it's been a lot slower, I mean, it's taken me absolutely forever to read this much of it. I do feel like even though this is slower than For the Wolf, there are more, like, good quotes in this one, at least now that I'm that far towards the end. Whereas For the Wolf, while it was still written well, I didn't feel like they were quite as strong quotes. They didn't, like, make me feel as strongly that, like, wow, you know, I really like that, like I did with these. So I'm hoping I can finish this last little bit in one chunk, and then, you know, kind of report back on my final thoughts about this and the duology as a whole. So I was able to finish For the Throne between last night and this morning, and I will say the plot did finally pick up with about 100 pages left. This was a pretty good series. I preferred For the Wolf to For the Throne. I felt like it was faster paced throughout the whole book, whereas For the Throne, I felt like the first half you got plot movement in Nev's parts, and that was it. And then by the time you got to the middle, there was very little plot movement. It just kind of felt like everybody was running around waiting for things to happen and just kind of moving from here to there. And as I did share some of the quotes, you know, there were some good quotes in here as well. Overall, if you like fantasy, I think this would be a pretty good series to read. I would give it between like a 3 to 3.5 stars. It's not necessarily something that I think everybody would like, but I don't feel like there's anything to hate in it either. So yeah, that is all I have for you, and thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, hit that like button and the subscribe button, and you can be notified every time I post something new. And of course, I have my Into the Book Cave Discord, which I will have linked down below, and I will see you next time in the Book Cave.